Someone said something to me the other day, just a small remark, the kind of thing a person says, and then, the kind of thing that is already gone from the person who said it before you have even finished hearing it. It was nothing, a passing thing. And yet I have been sitting with it ever since. Not because it was unkind, not because it was wrong exactly, but because of what was underneath it. There was an assumption sitting underneath that remark, a quiet one, the kind that does not know it is an assumption. And the assumption was simply this, that I did not already know the answer to the question the remark was really asking. Now, the remark itself, I'm not going to get into that. The specific words are not the thing. What I keep coming back to is underneath the words, that a person can be told something about themselves from the outside by someone passing through, and that this telling, this conclusion someone else arrived at about you without sitting with you for a single day of your life somehow lands, somehow stays. And I've been wondering, well, why does it stay for some people and not others? The remark is the same remark. The words are identical, but one person hears it and it simply passes through. Nothing in them reaches back for it. And another person hears the exact same thing and carries it home, carries it to bed, still has it a month later. What is actually happening there? What is the difference between those two people that makes the same words do completely different things? I do not think most people have sat with that question. Not really. Because the natural thing, the thing every person does, almost without thinking about it, is to decide it will not happen again. Something gets through, some remark, some failure, some loss. It finds you. It reaches the part of you that you did not think could be reached. And the immediate response, the almost automatic response, is to add something. More discipline, more distance, more resistance. Build the thing thicker so next time nothing gets through. You know what I mean. You have felt that instinct. I have felt it myself. And I want to be clear, I am not dismissing this. I understand completely why a person spends 20 years doing exactly this. Something hurt them, something found the opening, and so they close the opening, train harder, feel less, keep people at a certain distance, build the walls up. And to an outsider, this looks like strength. It looks like a very strong person. And in many ways, in many real and genuine ways, it is. The discipline is real, the endurance is real, the commitment is real. I am not saying any of that is nothing, but I knew a man, trained with him for a period of time. Remarkable physical discipline, the kind that takes years to build, honestly, years of very serious work. He could absorb punishment that would stop most people entirely. Most people would simply quit. He did not quit, ever. And so you looked at this man and you thought, well, nothing is going to reach him. Nothing is going to get through all of that. He has made himself into something that cannot be touched. And then one day, one afternoon, someone said something to him, not a physical challenge, just words. One sentence from a person whose opinion, if you sat down and thought about it carefully, should not have mattered very much at all. And I watched 20 years of accumulated toughness simply, not bend, not crack, just immediately not be there, as if it had never been built. The man's face, I still remember his face in that moment, not rage, not even pain exactly, something quieter than pain, recognition, as if the sentence had named something he had suspected about himself for a very long time, and had spent 20 years hoping no one would say out loud. You see, that is what I have been thinking about. Not the sentence, not the man who said it, but that look, that particular look on his face, because that look told me that the armor, all of it, everything he had built, had been sitting on top of something that was never resolved. The question was still open underneath. And all it took was one person, one sentence, one afternoon. And the open question answered itself from the outside. You see, so I kept asking myself, well, what was it exactly that the sentence found? Because it did not find weakness. This man was not weak. Everything about him was the opposite of weak, so what did it find? And I kept coming back to the same place. It found something unresolved. Not a weakness, I mean, that is not the right word for it. Something more like an open question. A question this man had never sat down and answered for himself. And because he had never answered it, because that particular question had always been left open, someone else was able to walk in one afternoon and answer it for him in one sentence. And he accepted it. Not because he was foolish, because he had nothing else to put in its place, you know. Now, what is it exactly that breaks? When a man breaks, really breaks, not physically, I'm not talking about the body. What is the thing that gives way? I have thought about this for a long time, and I do not think it is the strongest part of a person that breaks. I think it is the uncertain part, the part that is still waiting, still looking outward, still asking the world to come back with an answer about who it is. And this is where it gets interesting, because the uncertain part is not small. In most people, it is very large. In some people, it is almost everything, and they do not know this about themselves because the armor covers it so completely. The discipline covers it. The endurance covers it. From the outside, and even from a certain angle on the inside, it looks like a resolved person. It looks like someone who has answered the question. But the question is still open. It has just been decorated. You see, let me put it this way. You have seen a candle burning in a room, a steady flame, genuinely burning, not flickering, but full and present. And then someone opens a door somewhere and the wind moves across it. Now, if the flame is strong, really burning from a good center, the wind bends it for a moment, just a moment, and then it returns, exactly as it was. But if the flame is already low, already uncertain, already asking itself whether it has enough, the same wind from the same door at the same distance is enough. It is not that the wind was stronger, the wind was identical. It is that the flame was not fully lit. Do you see what I'm saying? The wind does not know the difference. The wind is just wind. It does not choose. It does not aim. It simply moves through the room the same way it always moves through the room. What changes, the only thing that ever changes, is the state of the flame before the wind arrives. And that is the whole thing right there. That is what I have been circling around since that afternoon. Whether a person can be reached, really reached in the place that matters, has almost nothing to do with the wind. It has everything to do with what was already burning before the wind came through the door. And I know this. I do not just think this because I have lived it specifically, in a way I could not have arranged if I had tried. In 1970, I injured my back during training. A particular exercise, a moment of carelessness, and something in the sacral nerve was damaged. The doctors were serious men, careful men. They sat with me and they were honest, the way doctors are honest when they are not entirely sure how to deliver what they are about to deliver. They said I might not train properly again, that the kind of physical work I had been doing, the kind that was, by that point, everything my visible life was built around, might simply not be available to me anymore. They were not cruel about it. They were just honest. And I listened. I did not argue. I understood they were probably right. To be honest with you, for several weeks after that, I believed them. Not just about the injury. Yes, about the injury, of course. But I believed the rest of it too. The part underneath what they actually said. The part that was not medical. The conclusion that seemed to follow naturally from the medical facts, that without the physical, without the training, without the one thing the world had come to associate entirely with my name, there was perhaps not very much left. And I'm not proud of that I accepted that conclusion, even quietly, even privately, even just for a few weeks. I am not proud of it. I was waiting for the feeling of disappearing, I expected it. I had watched other men lose the thing they were known for, and I had watched what that did to them. And I thought, well, this is what happens now. But it did not happen. I was lying still, completely still, weeks of it. And I noticed I was still thinking, still curious about things, still the same person who had opinions, questions, observations. Nothing had left. The thing the doctors were measuring, yes, that was genuinely damaged. That was real. I'm not dismissing that. But the thing that was doing the thinking, the questioning, the observing, that had not moved at all, not slightly, it was exactly where it had always been. And I sat with that for a long time, what that meant. And what it meant was this: the man who is building armor is still asking the question. That is the truth of it. All the discipline, all the endurance, all the accumulated toughness, underneath it, the question is still open. Who am I? Still unanswered. The armor is just a way of making that open question less dangerous while it stays unanswered. But a man who has sat with himself long enough to actually know, I mean really know, not the version other people assembled and handed back to him, that man is not unreachable because he is protected. He is unreachable because the thing they are trying to reach is already fully accounted for. He got there first. You see? You cannot tell a man something he already knows about himself. Definitely, definitely. The outside world, the failures, the opinions, the losses, they only have power over a person who is still deciding who they are. The moment that question is answered, from the inside, not handed to you, answered by you for yourself in the quiet, the power transfers completely. There is nothing for it to grab onto anymore. Not because you are hard, because you are settled, you see. And yet most people never ask it. Not really, not once. They ask everything around it. What should I do? What should I build? What should I prove? What can I endure? But the one underneath all of those, the one that does not have an answer, you can show anyone. The one that can only be answered in the quiet, by yourself, for yourself. Well, I wonder how many people have ever just sat with that,